What is up, adventurers? Rick Quasar here, and welcome back to the first Dungeons and Dragons and Discussions video of the year. So, the guest star is going to be very honored. I hope so. So the topic for today is about classes, or particularly technically three classes. But I don't want to spoil the question too much, so let me get my guest star on here. So, my one and only guest star here for today is misreported, or just reported?
Just reported.
Just reported is reported. She is a part of one of my campaigns that I run with some friends. And do you feel confident in yourself right now?
Slightly terrified.
Oh, you'll be fine. So I want you to put yourself into your paladin shoes. She currently plays a paladin this is a conversation I'm gonna have to bring up eventually. But the question for tonight, is there really a difference between warlocks and paladins and clerics?
Ooh, that's a good question.
So, for those who are not familiar, warlocks, where they get, and I have the file pulled up right next to me, where they get their magic is they get it from I can't even say a deity. They form a pact with something, whether it be a god or being or whatever, and they have magic. Paladins and clerics, specifically clerics, paladins, I looked through their thing, doesn't really touch upon it too much. But paladins and clerics get their powers from, like, a heavenly deity.
Mm-hmm.
Or, depending on what their cleric is, more like clerics who are of the grave domain, we know who you are, get their more slightly evil. Oh, the death domain, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. But, yes, is there really a difference between warlocks and clerics / paladins with where they get their magic? I mean, they both just worship a deity, so, I mean, they're kind of the same, right?
I mean, I'm going to take the hot take that there is no difference. Because, like you said, when you boil down to it, you're getting your powers from some other force, right? So, like, with wizards, to take it out of this question, with wizards, you learn it, if I remember correctly. With sorcerers, you just kind of know it.
Yeah.
See how much my magic
Yeah.
knowledge is?
They're born with it.
Yeah. There you go. That's the term. You're born with it.
Yeah.
But with the others, so clerics, warlocks, paladins, because paladins really get it from, like, their faith and their deity, while clerics get it, like, kind of directly from them. You're getting it not from, like, something you're born with or something that you were taught, but because someone is giving it to you. So from that perspective, there is no difference.
Yeah, and then bards just play their little instrument, and they somehow instantly have magic. The freaking suckers,
exactly.
Whatever. All right. So now I've come up with other questions to ask you as well. So with clerics specifically, they get their magic. No, you know what? Paladins first. They get their magic because you said that they have faith in their deity. Could they still have that magic? Let's say they follow the deity, but they don't have faith. Do you think their magic would still work? And real quick before you answer, everyone watching this is opinions that we may have. This is not facts. Maybe some of it is. Dungeon Masters run it however, but maybe from these videos you guys can get some sort of grasp at how to do things. But anyway. If they have faith, but if they follow but still faith, do you think they would still have their magical abilities?
I would say no, and here's why. You become an oathbreaker if the deity that you believe in so much stops believing in you, right? And then they take away your powers, your God-given powers, and you're then left as an oathbreaker. And so if you don't believe in them, there's no reason for them to believe in you, quote unquote, to give you powers. Because you have to believe in something so much. My character, for example, is a redemption paladin. She believes so deeply that every single person can be redeemed. That's where her powers come from.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily the god, but like, because that's the way I've always played it, is like you believe so deeply in something that it just kind of becomes who you are, which what gives you those abilities.
So wait, do you become a part of the god, or yeah, I am God? No, I'm kidding. No, no, no. But yeah, no, no, no. Okay, I like that. I like that. But that is a. So are you basically? Does the god use you as like an instrument to display its will, or is it like are you like a form of it because of your faith?
I think it's more like you're the champion.
Ah,
So
okay.
I low key forget what paladins are called all of the time. So I call them god fighters that start with a P because that's just how I memorize it.
Okay,
And so that's
okay.
just they're champions. It's a fighter class who has powers because of a god.
Mhm.
That's what a paladin is. And so like if you don't believe in it, or at least whatever aspect or whatever class you are, subclass, then you're just a fighter.
Mhm.
You're just a
Okay.
really buffed up fighter.
Yeah, and let it be let the record show that paladins. I mean, how often do you do some healing magic?
Yeah.
But as a paladin, if you didn't excuse me, if you didn't have magic, you can still hold your own.
Yeah. I think that because like the biggest draw with paladins is that like our party doesn't have a healer. So I'm able to tap into that some. But also the like rebuke the violent is
Hmm.
another thing that I use all the time, and that
Oh,
specifically
that's right.
comes from my God given ability, right?
That's right. What'd you say? Your thing of devotion?
Yeah, the
Okay.
devotion thing, rebuke the violent is what I use.
I'm just pulling it up so that they know what that is. Uh, is right. It's somewhere here. I hate like they need to organize these a little bit. Uh, whatever. I can find. I'll find it later. But yeah. So you can have like paladins are beefy. They are things. What it says in the description right here. I'll put up a picture of it. Is that they are focus on various acts of cause of righteousness. That's not right. That's not what it is. I should have highlighted these before I started talking. There we go. Paladin trains for years to learn the skills of combat, mastering a variety of weapons and armor. Paladins having that already being proficient with a lot of stuff, including heavy armor. I mean, clerics and I believe warlocks don't um, have that ability unless they take a feat, or clerics take the war
Yeah,
cleric path. So paladins already they are like in my opinion, paladins kind of like soldiers that God has blessed. Like that is like an easy way of putting it. Um but yeah, so and their magic is a part of it. But
so
no no,
if
keep
I
going.
may, I'm going to jump back to the very first question you said.
Yes.
All right. So, because I think you just brought up a really good point, a really interesting point,
Yes.
which is because as we've discussed, paladins are more, like fighters, like champions, like soldiers. So then you would almost want to say that no, they're not like clerics and warlocks because of that.
Well, so cleric and paladins are on one side, warlock is on the other. So like just like cleric. Yes, cleric is more talking about the magical side of thing. Paladin's thrown in there because they get it similarly, but
Mhm.
comparing both of them to warlock versus not to one another. Does that
Okay,
make
I get what you're
sense?
saying.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
but what I'm going with this
All right.
is that they're not even like clerics.
Okay.
So even just comparing them to cleric and paladin, they're not similar.
And that is where I come and try to defend my warlock because I play the warlock in our campaign. I almost want to get into my voice and start being all sophisticated and everything, but I won't. So yes, but what if the warlock? It says they're sworn and beholden, where they have defined a pact with an otherworldly being, and that means any type of being. In
Mhm.
fact, one of the patrons that you can have is called the Celestial. So technically, they could be, because the celestial is a patron is a your patron is a powerful being of the upper planes. You've bound yourself to an ancient, I cannot pronounce this, Empyrean. There we go. Solar, Kinry, unicorn. I want to be a warlock that follows a unicorn. That's my next character. Or the enemy that resides in the plane of everlasting bliss. So a good deity. So let's say a warlock takes this. I mean, they have healing magic. They even have the it's called healing light, which is kind of similar to lay on hands almost.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they even follow a deity. So if anything, they might be a little bit similar to clerics, not paladins, because that is you're right, that is different. Like if anything, I could compare a warlock that follows the hexblade, which is something that deals with weaponry. I don't even think they get. Do they get proficiency with heavy armor if they follow the hexblade? Um,
That's a good question.
no, they got
I
expanded
don't think
spell
so.
list. No, they don't. Um, I think even with the class feature where they have the, oh no, the pact boon where they have the one with the sword. I am,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. What is that?
I know
That's
what you're talking about, but I have no
yeah.
idea what it's called.
Pack magic, eligible locations. No, pact boon. I There we go, found it. Pact of the Blade. So it lets you
Hmm.
basically have a melee weapon being summoned to you. And it's your weapon, and it lets you use it and has extra stuff, whatever. So they are proficient in that, but only with that weapons, whereas paladins have experience
Yeah.
with everything. But yeah, but let's say a warlock's following the celestial, which is could be a divine being with healing magic. I mean, wouldn't that put him close to a cleric in some sense?
I would actually say yes. In fact, I'll even go one step further and say if you do the Great Old One as well.
I didn't the great old one.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Because it doesn't say the Great Old One needs to be evil.
Mm-hmm.
It just needs to be a really old and like mysterious entity. So it could be a very, very old god.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I've always wanted to try, but I've never had the guts to try. But
Well, because warlocks are very interesting to play. For those who don't know, warlocks at third level have only 2 spell slots. But the benefit of warlock is you get those spell slots back every short rest versus a long rest, and warlocks get to 5th level spells the fastest out of all the classes. They have a really they get to cast all of their spells at whatever level that is. So like as the warlock levels up and you can cast 5th level spells, you can cast all of your spells at 5th level, but you can only cast 2 spells, and then at one point you'll get like 3 slots. And I think, do you even get to 4 slots, or is 3 the max? I think 3 is the max, unless I'm wrong. Now this 4th level, at least you get 4 at 20th level, which kind of sounds right in the back of my head. No, you do get 4 at 17th level. So by the end of your campaign, you'll get to cast 4 spells instead of 2 or 3.
I mean, I will not lie. The only time I've ever played a warlock, I played it horribly wrong. I didn't even take Eldritch Blast. Yeah, I did the cardinal sin. I played it without
No!
Eldritch Blast.
Eldritch Blast is the best cantrip in the game. Fight me right now. There's little, unless you count Firebolt. Firebolt is the same thing, 1d10 of damage. Warlock Blast, the Eldritch Warlock Blast, Eldritch Blast combined with some of the special abilities that Warlocks get can make it more powerful. So it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, it is a really great cantrip. How dare you? That is like,
I. It was
well,
for a fun campaign that I thought it would be hilarious because
what
they wanted a
was
warlock, so
okay?
I just did it.
What
Yeah,
was
I think.
what was your
Sorry.
patron? No, no, sorry.
Ooh. Um. I called it the Great Old One, but I think my DM overrode me and did the Fiend, if I remember correctly, because of just like how that worked out. I thought I made a
Yeah.
pact with the Great Old One, but I did not. Um, it was a very interesting and joke campaign. I mean, we were vegetables, and it was like Veggie Tales setting. So when I say that this was like a joke campaign, I
Oh
mean
my
like
gosh. Yeah, that's actually amazing. That is actually amazing. I want to be a warlock that's a vegetable. All right.
I
Sorry.
I
Distracted. Yeah, so clerics and
yes.
warlocks that follow either the Great Old One or the Celestial, they could be similar. Um
Mhm.
I mean, cuz it really is if you think about it, cuz clerics are different. Now, they have to follow their god, right?
Yes. Well,
Um,
because don't I'm not such a
I
I'm
don't
gonna
know.
do a little bit of research,
It's all
but
good.
just
It's
because
all
I'm
good.
curious.
That's fine. That's fine.
Um, yeah, because like clerics have to follow their god in order to get their powers, just like warlocks. They can't anger whoever they made a deal with, because then they lose their powers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No. So, see, the patrons for the warlock is different. I managed
Okay.
to. I managed to get so good of a deal. We'll see if it's a good deal. Everyone's about to figure this out with my character, including our very hate all things dark and evil paladin. I have a soul trapped in my guy, and that is his patron. So
Mhm.
because his soul is trapped in me, I get the magic that he has. Thankfully, we have not hit any snags where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go shop. He's like, no, I want you to go kill this person because it will help move my agenda. Thankfully, we haven't hit that point. If warlocks do, I don't want to say go against their patron, but yeah, it's hit or miss, right? It's all once again, it's all by the whatever the dungeon
Yeah.
master says. It could be from struck down by hellfire or magic is just gone completely. But basically, it's a deal. Like it's not just a I'm going to give you my power whenever I want. They make a deal. And I like this right here. Um it said there's a point in it that says that sometimes the warlock doesn't even know they made the deal yet. Like
Mm.
they go and they one thing I'm glad I'm playing my warlock this way. They one thing they have once they start looking into they get their patron, they get their pact, whatever, they look for knowledge depending on whatever that knowledge is. Um not all the patrons are fiendish. I like to point that out. Mine definitely is, but not all of them. Um but yeah, Warlock search for knowledge can't be slaked, and with mere study research, it has to actually go into. It has to make steals, whatever. But yeah, many warlocks serve patrons that are not fiendish, and sometimes they just don't even know without fully aware it. Like they stumble to a strangely beautiful tower, meets like a fey lord or lady. One thing leads to another. They have a couple extra drinks, and then yeah, whatever. Then now he has a pact. But
Well, on that point, I've actually
yeah.
tutored with that a little bit. So I played a rogue who made a somewhat deal with a demon that was trapped in a lock.
Oh, that's different. That's no. I'm sorry. Keep
Well,
going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
I say somewhat tutored on the line because the DM at the time was had me actually mote class into Warlock,
Oh.
because I was doing things specifically for this demon, and I would get magic or rewards based off of it. So I did like dabble into it, and then as soon as we had dealt with the demon as a group, not my choosing, mind you, I actually lost all of my powers and gifts given. But that, again, was a DM decision,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I think it, depending on how the DM does it, kind of reminds me of a paladin in the sense that if you go against or you stop doing what they want you to do, you lose your powers.
Okay. All right. I like that. I like that. Um, those that are see the thing is with warlocks is uh sometimes your patron will like they say the packs can be anything from like a cult to simply just being some alien entity or whatever.
Mhm.
Archdevil, demon prince, demons can be it.
Yeah.
Anything can be a patron. Like I like that specifically. Like some random guy, random sorcerer on top of on a hill. You go up and he's like, "I will give you my power, but you must bring me a flower from dimension X, Y, and Z by the end of your lifetime, and you'll get." And it's like, "Okay, cool, yeah, sure, I'll do this." And now you're a warlock. That's basically it, right? And I think
Yeah.
that is another difference between clerics slash paladins and warlocks is warlocks their patron can be anything.
See, I disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just because it can be anything doesn't negate the fact that you're getting it from something, right?
Okay.
So yeah, when you take your example, right? It's some random dude on a hill who like you just stumble upon and he's like, "Hey, I love this one flower that's super rare. And I want you to go get it, bring it back to me by the time you're like 80. And throughout your journey to get it, I'll give you all the powers that you want." That's no difference than like some person praying to a god and then being like, "Hey, you now serve me. You do what I want you to do. And you get my powers for as long as you serve me."
Okay. Okay. But
And
I
that's a hot take, I know,
no,
but
no, no, I feel so doesn't a yeah, I'm stalling. I'm stalling because I'm looking something else up on the side here that I want to bring up. But doesn't clerics specifically worship things that are good though? As soon as I said that I realized no, not necessarily.
yeah, it's
Cuz
just like so. I always viewed a cleric as just like someone who prays really hard and
mm,
who just like is a little bit like a paladin in the sense that they just believe so deeply
they pray
that
so hard that like light strikes their foes. Sorry, keep going.
no, but I mean kind of. It's like, the one like person like you might like look up online and be like, "Hey, I can speak with angels." Like that's just kind of like how I view clerics,
I'm
you know?
reading the thing here, and it just says divine magic, as the name suggests, is power of the gods, flowing from them into the world. Does not specify if the gods are good or evil.
Exactly. I mean, think about because like necromancy or like the grave or death, clerics, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't necessarily say that those are good deities,
I agree.
quote
The
unquote.
freaking trickery domain. What?
Yeah, exactly.
I apparently have not. Is this updated? Have I not looked into this in a while? But yeah. So, but still, though, it is a god, though. It is divine. It's
Yeah,
divine magic. So it's like,
but
yeah.
but like so, if you think like big picture, right?
Okay.
In any world where you have divine magic, normally that means the god isn't dead. So hypothetically speaking, it's just some dude chilling out in some other realm.
Mm-hmm.
I should say girl or guy because I don't know. It's some
Yeah,
some
yeah, yeah,
mystical
yeah, yeah,
being that
yeah, yeah. You're right.
yeah, chilling out in some
It's
other
whatever their
realm.
avatar their avatar decides to take in that moment.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, so there's no. I mean, they could show up as like a cow for all we know, or they could,
No,
right?
no, you're not wrong.
You could be like, "I serve a cow," and like no one's gonna be like, "No, that's weird," because like that could just be how that god or goddess manifests itself,
Mm-hmm.
which is no different than a warlock who just gets their powers from a random dude on a hill or a demon they found in a like pocket watch.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, or I love this race. This race. Any
Mhm.
dungeon master, put this race in your campaign. All right, so they're called, and I had to look it up. I don't think I can actually find it because I'm not sure if this is a homebrew or not. But it's called the Kuto, and let me see if it's actually in the D&D Beyond thing. They are. Okay. So the Kuto is I'm gonna put a picture up. You won't be able to see it right now, but I'm gonna put a picture up so you guys can see it. It's not a extremely strong thing. It's amphibious. It looks like a fish person, right? So they have 18 hit points. They're 13 armor class. Yeah, they're not strong. They're not strong things. They have the most underlying ability where if they think that, oh my gosh, I tripped on this patch of grass and it saved me from getting crushed by a boulder, this grass must be a god. And so they start worshiping that little patch of grass, and because they worship it, it literally becomes a sentient god. That is, I don't know if it says it in this class. Yes! Kutos worship gods of their own insane creation. But if enough Kutoa believe that that god is real, the energy of their collective subconscious can cause a god to manifest as a physical entity. They literally can make anything become a god. I see why this is in a lot isn't not in is not in a lot of campaigns because this can cause things. Let's say your player, dungeon masters. Now you have to be careful. Let's say your player goes in, they save one of them, and that one bard, because you know there's bards that do this, says like, I saved you, I'm a god, and now all of their worship, now he's a god. Legit, that is how it is. Yeah. So this is oh my gosh, sorry, that was a tangent. So my father is a dungeon master as well. So while this ability exists with this one race in Dungeons and Dragons, he plays it where if anything, person, whatever, can get enough people to worship it, it becomes a god. Despite this weird race with this random ability. So a person, destroys a city or whatever in like a stroke of magical divine creation. Now everyone starts worshiping him. He becomes a god because he has people that follow under them. I feel like to give a person a packed magic ability, they need to have some type of great magic to do that. And dare I say it, that has to be someone of god level, right?
I'm gonna disagree.
Yeah? Why is that?
Simply because I like the idea. Because, like, if you come across like a cult leader, right? They are so charismatic and they can have so many people believe in them so deeply that they will literally drink some Kool-Aid to be with them, right? Real world example.
Kool-Aid.
You
Nice.
know, I
No.
think that should apply to D&D. Because
Okay.
so much of like what we do is based off of our real world, whether we like to agree with it or not, to some degree, is based off of the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it almost gives an interesting flair if that pack magic is just with a really, really charismatic cult leader.
And the Warlock's magic ability is based off of their charisma booster. That
Yeah.
makes sense. But the thing is like Warlocks, once they get higher up in the levels, they get the ability to cast a ninth level spell.
Mm.
And ninth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth with a special ability. They get the power word kill spell, which I don't think a whole unless you're a sorcerer or a wizard and it's a ninth level spell.
Yeah.
And they get the ability just to cast it as they level up, instead of like a sorcerer or a wizard just having to find it and learn it. They get it, and that's that. Um, that isn't just like some cult leader who's probably like, a cult leader by night but a nobody by day, that you can't just give them that magic that they get. You know what I'm saying? It has to come from
Yeah.
some type of battery. And eventually the battery runs out. It has to be some type of energy pool for them to pull off of. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, now that you bring that up, obviously I never played that far ahead with
Mm-hmm.
my Warlock, but that makes a lot more sense. And yeah, no, like as I think it through, you're definitely 100% correct in that. Like it needs to come from a energy source of some type because that's the only way to make it like theoretically possible for them to
Mm-hmm.
have that kind of power,
Yeah.
I guess.
I don't want to bash. I don't want to be like, oh well, anything can be a patron, because, I mean, let's say you're the only. Let's say you do like fall like a unicorn or something, and you're the only one that made a deal with it. Yeah, its power is sliced in half, given to you, but that's still, you're the only member, so you have that magic, and
Yeah.
it's still powerful. And then you have things like a cult or whatever, and the whole idea of like the more followers, the more magical pool that's based out. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
Sorry.
I guess no, you're good. I was just thinking like, yeah, it shouldn't be like just like any random stranger off the street. Like just Joe Schmo who's walking down the street. You're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna make a pact with him. But like a
Yes.
sorcerer on a hill, a really charismatic cult leader who has like a lot of followings, a demon, a celestial, those kind of a unicorn. That kind of makes sense.
Gotcha. All right. So I reached the time limit that I usually like to cut it off at. So let's bring it back to the
Yep.
original question. So I'm going to modify it slightly. Is there similarities between warlocks, clerics slash paladins?
100% yes. I'm sticking with that answer.
Okay, cool. But could we argue like a maybe, because obviously there's some play style differences, you know what I'm saying, between paladins being, beefy fighters and warlocks not as much. Though, I mean, anyone can have, if you take the right amount of feats and whatnot, you can come to that type, but paladins naturally, as the trained fighters they already automatically have that, right?
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I say yes is because of just like where they get their power from.
Mm-hmm.
It all stems from a belief. I mean, really a belief in something so great or a pack in something, some type of agreement that like you have powers now.
Yeah. And that's more of what I was basing off of.
Yeah.
More, not more as like how it plays out, but more from where their magic stems from.
Yeah.
And you would say, based on the magic side,
Yeah, absolutely.
okay. Alrighty then. And I think that was really good. Thank you for joining me tonight. It's been very interesting. It was a very great conversation. Little rabbit holes, but rabbit holes make it fun. And for all the adventurers watching, thank you for joining us. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe. And be careful with what you worship, because who knows? Maybe that voice in your head isn't as nice as you were expecting, no matter how much magical power it is giving you. But thank you guys for coming out here tonight, and I hope to see you guys in whatever concoction I plan next. Have a good night.